everybody. I'm glad to be here in Rome, New York. The 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence pledge their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. They knew that by signing the Declaration, that the penalty would be death if they were captured. The fact is, their pledges turned into reality. 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost sons in the Revolutionary Army, and another had 2 sons captured. 9 fought and died from wounds or hardships from the Revolutionary War. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ship swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in absolute poverty. Thomas McKean was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in the Congress without pay, and his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward. Vandals or soldiers looted the properties of Dillery, Hull, Clymer, Walton, Gwinnett, Hayward, Rutledge, and Middleton. At the Battle of Yorktown, Thomas Nelson Jr. noted that the British General Cornwallis had taken over the Nelson home for his own headquarters. He quietly urged General George Washington to open fire. The home was destroyed and Nelson died bankrupt. Francis Lewis had his home and his properties destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife, and she died within a few months. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside as she lay dying. Their 13 children fled for their lives. His fields and his gristmill were laid to waste. For more than a year, he lived in forests and caves, returning home to find his wife dead and all his children vanished. A few weeks later, he died from exhaustion and a broken heart. Norris and Livingston suffered similar fates. These people paid for our freedom with everything that they had. Everything. My speech has 3 key words: freedom, Americans, and unite. But the main idea is unity. I'm a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a wife, and a mother. But what I have in common with each and every one of you that are here today is I'm an American. All of us have come to this juncture in time where the line has been drawn in the sand. Our rights have been eroded away because the Constitution has been ignored and not been obeyed. Americans have been lazy about keeping the Republic. Our national debt is not sustainable or fixable. The government, through the Federal Reserve, has inflated our money until it is hard for most Americans just to make ends meet. The TSA irradiates us and molests us at our airports. Our phones are wiretapped and our emails are spied on. With the passage of the NDAA, or National Defense Authorization Act, any one of us can be labeled and detained indefinitely without a trial or a lawyer. Our country is involved in perpetual undeclared war and torture. The Department of Homeland Security is buying billions, or maybe it's trillions of rounds of ammunition. The president has a kill list. Drones can attack Americans on American soil. And there's a push for a one-world government by secretive groups, such as the Trilateral Commission or Foreign Council of Foreign Relations, which would destroy our beloved sovereign nation and republic. Today, the last stronghold is left, the Second Amendment. Politicians and the media tell everyone that guns are for hunting or self-protection. But is that really what the Founding Fathers had in mind? No. Thomas Jefferson said, "The strongest reason for people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is, as a last resort, to protect themselves against tyranny in government." The UN wants to take our guns away. Obama wants to take away our Second Amendment. And New York State has passed the New York SAFE Act quickly and without debate. So are New Yorkers safer now? No! Do you all feel safer now? No! Do we need to be protected from tyranny, as Thomas Jefferson said? Yeah! The war on American freedom starts here. The rest of the states are watching us. The world is also watching New Yorkers. Together, we all are on the front lines fighting tyranny. Daniel Webster said, "Hold on, my friends, to the Constitution and to the Republic for which it stands. Miracles do not cluster, and what has happened once in 6,000 years may not happen again. Hold on to the Constitution, for if the American Constitution should fail, there will be anarchy throughout the world." So, will we with all passion hold on to our freedom? Yeah! Good passion. Will we fight for the Constitution? Yeah! Is America still the land of the free and the brave? Yeah! Are you prepared to have the same heart for your country as the signers of the Declaration of Independence? Yeah! Divide and conquer. It's a tactic that's been used against us for far too long. Political parties divide us. You know, like Republican versus Democrat. But then there are these divisions. Black versus white. Rich versus poor. Male versus female. Old versus young. Conservative versus liberal, Christian versus Catholic, left versus right, Tea Party versus libertarian. But can we come together regardless of the things that supposedly divide us?
Yeah. United we stand!
That's right. United we stand. Can we put our differences aside? Come together and unite with others in this state as Americans of New York to fight this infringement on our right to keep and bear arms. Yeah! Please stand united as free Americans declaring that we will not comply. Actually, that we will never comply under any circumstances to the New York SAFE Act or any similar legislation. The declare that the Constitution is the highest law of the land, and we will not let them infringe it. We need to be part of the securing of the blessings of liberty for the sake of our posterity, so our precious children and grandchildren, and even those yet to be born, will not be slaves. We need vigilance and numbers to fight this, because there is power in numbers. The New York SAFE Act goes against your God-given natural rights for self-defense and self-preservation. Amen. This is a natural right that comes from God. Amen. And not any government. Think about this. Historically, registration is the prerequisite to confiscation. And confiscation is the prerequisite to dictatorship and extermination.
Don't register your guns!
Don't register your guns.
We will not comply.
We will never comply. Decide now if you're going to go down the same road as the Germans in the 1930s. Are you going to repeat history?
No!
Or resist?
Yes!
We will never comply. I want to encourage you that you are not alone. We have each other and we have God. Regardless of how the history books have been rewritten, our nation was founded on the Bible. God says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Dear fellow Americans, our land does need healing. Please don't forget to pray. There is power in prayer. Ronald Reagan said, we are never defeated unless we give up on God. Reach out to your fellow Americans, your neighbors. In the end, that's all that we might have. We need each other. There is a possibility, and I hope it's not the case, that the lawsuits of the repealing might not work. Each and every one of you needs to build strong ties now. Don't think you have a lot of time. We have a little less than a year. That's it. They've put us all on notice. As you know, the SAFE Act was passed in the middle of the night. That's how criminals and tyrants behave. Stop and think, what will they do in the dead of night next? Perhaps declare that we must submit our babies to euthanasia? Or the elderly? That's how tyrants behave. As United Americans, we must resist this vicious attack. The passage of the New York SAFE Act by the message of necessity. We must, with everything that we have, because the next thing will be the unthinkable. Throw off the shackles of division and be one force against the small minority of progressives who seek to disarm and destroy us, our country, and freedom. If you're not a member of a freedom-oriented constitutional group, find one right away and get